What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Ghost of Yotei, and it's not just updated sales, but really first official sales data. You know, we had heard rumors of the 2 million thing, and look, we've seen charts, and I've talked about a lot of charts on this channel, and sometimes, honestly, that's all you have to go by, or, you know, that's literally the only thing accessible to us, you know, but they posted, of course, their updated financials, and I always like looking at these. There's actually right where Ghost of Yotei is on this thing is kind of a look back at some of these classic, you know, PS4, PS5 era games. I just find that so interesting to see. Like Returnal only sold like 500,000. Now that's not shocking. That game kind of screams, niche audience, but just a really phenomenal game. So you can go through that list and you can look at Uncharted 4, is on that list, and of course the previous Ghost of Tsushima, right? The Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man, all these different games. And then you get to, and it's literally the bottom of the list. So actually right above it is Astrobot, which the last reported sales are 1.5 million. And there's a game where it's like, that's got so much potential, so much brand opportunity. It sells 1.5 million the last time it was updated a while ago. Maybe it, continues to climb as time goes on. But of course, Ghost of Yotei, very, very bottom. And they say that it sold 3.3 million units. Now, here's the deal, okay? It's in the first 32 days. They stopped the tracking, at least for the statement, on November 2nd. So 3.3 million as of about a week ago, and that was 32 days into it being sold. Now, you look back, and the cool thing with that chart is you can actually go back some kind of benchmarks, right? They're not all there. They're not going to tell you, okay, here's all these games at the 32-day mark. Many games skip a lot of time, in that chart. But you can look back, and there's a couple people actually tweeting it that are kind of condensed versions, even MBG here. So Ghost of Tsushima sold 2.4 million units in the first 3 days, right? So that it started super quick. And then it reached 5 million in 4 months, 8 million by January of 2022, and 13 million by September 2024. So, Ghost of Tsushima has actually had another year to do whatever it was going to do. It might actually be higher than 13 million. So I think from what we can tell, Ghost of Yotei didn't do as well as quickly, as Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima sold instantly. Now, I really just think, to me, this backs up a lot of the things that people like myself, people like Colin Moriarty, a lot of other people have been saying. You look at the differences of when these games came out, right? Ghost of Tsushima came out in July of 2020, okay? So we are locked up, locked down, locked up everywhere. And, so it starts out there. And the PS4 had 20 plus million, more units out there. So it was selling it to a wider range of people. I think Ghost of Yotei is being sold literally right now on the PS5. And of course, Ghost of Yotei is being sold at $10 more. Now, that's where I think this becomes important, right? Because a lot of these metrics that we've heard over the last month is, well, Ghost of Yotei is tracking pretty in line with Tsushima in terms of revenue, in terms of money. And you say, okay, well, if it's being sold for $10 more, means it can sell less, right? Might have to sell 300,000 copies less, but it could actually make the same amount of money, whatever that math conversion might be. And that's true. All that stuff is factually true. But now we literally get units sold. This is not $3.3 million. This is not any kind of money associated with it. It's simply how much did it sell, right? So like literally units sold. So this one is, okay, well, it sells 3.3 million and it's $10 more, and it comes out in a crowded period, and it's on PS5, which has 20 million less units available to people than the PS4 did at the same time. There's where I think really helps Ghost of Yotei, to be honest with you. And, one of the first things I kind of thought of was, well, it's going to have this holiday Black Friday period, and I still want to say it because I feel like it's an important part, I think, of the conversation. To be fair, though, you imagine, like, you look at this, it's actually kind of weird how Tsushima Tsushima sold. And I mean, it's just my analysis, just looking at literally freaking numbers, right? But so it sells 5 million in 4 months. So that was really, by my tracking of like dates and stuff, that's also before the holidays, or at least right around Black Friday, back in 2020. Okay, so it sells 5 million. It's maybe not helped by those holidays yet in terms of that tracking. And then you look at the next jump, right? So 5 million, and then it jumps to 8 million, and now that took it about a year and 2 months. Year and 2 months. It jumped from 5 to 8. So it really had 2 holiday seasons to get 3 million. Of course, it had the other months and the other days, right? But it had 2 holidays to jump by 3 million. And that's where I kind of look and say, I wonder what Ghost of Yotei is going to do. So, like, I guess why I bring that up and why I bring it up kind of in the way that I am, because I don't want to use it as a crutch, because it's like, well, technically, to get to 5 million and to get 2.4 million in the first 3 days, it didn't have help. You know what I mean? It didn't, it had lockdowns, actually, so it did kind of have that help, but it didn't have holiday help, whereas Ghost of Yotei is about to have holiday help. But there is a cutoff for both of these games. Going into the holidays back in 2020, it was capped at 5 million, and then you next see it reported, a year and 2 months later, and it jumps by 3. Right now, will we see it? Well, we're going to see a jump, but when do we see the next statement of it jumping, and then how much does it jump by? I think that, because you see kind of, again, a weird kind of jumping pattern. 5 to 8 took it a year and 2 months to do that, and then 8 to 13, and that took almost 3 more years, 2.5, actually a little bit more than 2.5 years to get to 8 to 13, so that jump of 5 million. So I don't know, Ghost of Tsushima had really long legs, and that's again why I think it's actually kind of fun to look at and because I do, by the way, I know Ghost of Yotei's had all the drama and all of because also there's been all of I think the lies, just factual lies on social media that the game was just not doing good. I just don't think that's true. But I do look at a lot of these things for fun, by the way. I don't get that much into the mix of the drama and stuff. I like to look at the other games, and like I said, it's kind of cool to see, like, well, how was Astrobot doing, after X days, or how was Returnal doing, or Uncharted 4, The Last of Us and stuff. And some of these games have weird, like, some games took a while, but then it kind of like freaking blew up. You know what I mean? Some games did really well at first, and they kind of died down. Ghost of Tsushima, I honestly would say, was both. It did really, really well at first, and then, you could, depending on how you judge it, you can say it slowed down. Well, it definitely slowed down. I think you can maybe factually say that, right? Like, it sold less millions, over the months than it did maybe in the months prior. But it also had extremely long legs to get to 13 million, right? So, that's a thing that has been a debate with Ghost of Yotei, where it's like, can it reach this? Can it reach 13 million? I mean, it's got a long path ahead of it, It's got this Black Friday, and what can it do? I guess when can Ghost of Yotei reach 5 million? When can Ghost of Yotei reach 8 million? And it's not necessarily a race, or it's a more of a marathon, because this is going to take years and years and years, and that's also kind of why I don't get the back and forth drama. On top of, by the way, 3.3 million at $70. PlayStation keeps all the revenue, right? At least sold digitally on PlayStation. The game made money, and it's not going to die. It's not going to stop at 3.3. Even, yes, the Returnals of the world stopped. Astrobot might stop, but I think Astrobot kind of slowly over time gets sales. But, like, really, did any of those games just flat out die? You can say The Last of Us started insanely fast. Last of Us Part 2 started incredibly fast and then slowed down considerably. That is true. But it never died. It didn't stop at 5 million. It didn't stop even at, say, 6 or 7 million. It kept going. So that's something with Ghost of Yotei. I don't think it's done at 3.3, right? Does it cap out at 6 or 7 or 8? Maybe it does. But as of right now, it's tracking pretty close to Ghost of Tsushima. It's got its whole original kind of set of situations, that it's dealing with, and it's got a long time to go, before, well, actually, it's kind of got forever, to go until it's over. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.